What's that? Up in the sky? Is it a balloon? Is it a drone? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it an excuse to increase military spending and keep us all terrified? It's the last one, isn't it? Hello there, you 6.3 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth and freedom, where we come together and analyze mainstream narratives, where we look for new unity, new alliances, so that we can't be cowed, guided, shepherded towards convenient truths for them, more tyranny for us. If you don't subscribe already, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell so you're always informed when we make content. We make new videos every single day, especially for you, so we can communicate about stories like today's. Is that drone being brought down, being used to escalate tensions, increase fear, and justify more expenditure on weapons? Now let's get into this story.
We begin tonight with the breaking news.
Firstly, why is the news being presented by Ross from Friends, looking all sideways and taut and fraught?
We begin tonight with the breaking news.
Let's notice how they convey this story. Look out in particular for the adjectives that they use, because adjectives is editorialization. If something is described as rapidly or egregiously or terrifyingly, that is editorialization. Look out for personification. See if they make a drone, which is an autonomous remote-controlled object, sound like it's some sort of lovable steam engine from Victorian Britain chugging its way through the sky like Thomas the Tank Engine, just trying to complete a task. Look out for the ways that information is presented to you, so that together we can maintain some objectivity and potentially one day some freedom.
The U.S. says a Russian fighter jet collided with an unmanned American drone over the Black Sea. That drone, worth up to $32 million and crashing into the sea.
That's $32 million of some of the best drone I've ever seen.
And of course, it comes amid significant tensions already between the U.S. and Russia.
Significant tensions or proxy war?
The U.S. says 2 Russian fighter planes intercepted the Reaper surveillance drone as it was flying in international airspace southwest of Crimea.
If it's just an innocuous drone doing surveillance over international waters, can I ask, why is it called the Reaper drone? Is that after the Grim Reaper, the symbol of death? Do you know how many innocent people have been killed by drones? It's not none, but I'm not willing to say how many it is, because otherwise, like Daniel Hale, the whistleblower, I'll end up in jail.
They say Russian pilots harassing the drone for 30 minutes.
Listen to the language that's used to describe what happened to that drone. Harassment. They're personifying that drone and making it look like it's some sort of interpersonal skirmish, rather than a drone is doing routine flying very near to Russian airspace and a fighter jet brought it down. That's the information.
The White House calling the pilots reckless.
You recklessly harassed me. I was just trying to reap and surveil up in the sky. You harassed me.
Dumping fuel on the drone.
Why don't you take this, you little drone? I shit all over your back.
Making 19 close passes.
Close passes? This isn't happening at a corridor at Miramax, Harvey Weinstein. Oh, excuse me, honey. This is above the Black Sea that's next to Russia. Stop using words like harassment. One of the ways you know there's centralized mass media manipulation is when unusual words start cropping up all across mainstream media outlets. I never heard harassment applied to a jet before. Look at that thing. You can't feel sorry for it, can you? Look at its stupid dolphin head.
One of the jets hitting the drone's propeller, forcing it down.
Look how much attention's being given to the downing of a drone. Children have died in this conflict. Probably thousands of Ukrainian children have been killed, and I would contest unnecessarily, because a peaceful solution could probably be reached. Certainly the Israeli Prime Minister said that a deal was on the table. Certainly it's been reported that Boris Johnson slowed down the peace process. Certainly Donald Trump says that he could reach a peace deal in 15 seconds or wherever it is. And Donald Trump, he's not given to hyperbole. I'm being sarcastic. Tell me if you spotted that in the chat.
ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz leading us off tonight.
The U.S. Reaper surveillance drone was flying in international airspace.
The U.S. Reaper drone was just trying its best, man. Why is everyone talking like this? What do you think's happening now? Do you think that there is no intention behind this? Is this just the rendering of information? Or do you think there's an implicit intention to escalate fear, escalate tension, present a solution that amounts to expenditure on military equipment?
When the Russian fighter jets rapidly approached.
Rapidly? It's a fighter jet. Would you mind flying that fighter jet a bit more slowly? I feel the need for modest flying of a fighter jet. If you use the adjective rapidly to describe the movement of a fighter jet, you're trying to make it sound worse than it was. Oh my God, look at that thing. It just broke the sound barrier. Who's gonna put that sound barrier back together again? Putin? I don't think so.
And began what would be more than 30 minutes of reckless aerial harassment.
I'm being recklessly aerially harassed.
Much like this encounter with the US B-52 bomber in 2020.
That's nothing to do with it. That's further narrativization. They've just plucked that out from the past. See, they're always recklessly harassing our sky drones. They're drones. This is a military conflict. Billions and billions are being spent on this. A peace deal's been knocked back. Let's have some honest reporting.
Interceptions are common, but never before like this. Not only did the Russians shadow the drone, they made 19 close passes, sprayed fuel on the unmanned aircraft multiple times.
Shadowed means nearly touched it. Near passes means nearly touched it. Sprayed some fuel on it. So that's nothing, sprayed some fuel on it. That's it. That's the news. Something sprayed some fuel on something. If that happened to me in my actual life driving my car, oh, what's that? Oh, bloody hell. It's not the news, is it? One of our most nicest drones has been covered in something what stank. And if you think about it, jet fuel is the airplane version of piss and shit. This is unforgivable. Pooey.
Well, one of the jets pulling up vertically as it approached the drone, then colliding with the drone's rear propeller.
They collided with the aircraft, damaging the propeller.
Damaging a propeller? They've got like a general out in front of that board. It's a news conference for a minor skirmish.
Colliding with the drone's rear propeller.
They collided with the aircraft, damaging the propeller.
So the military perspective is collided with the propeller. The mainstream media perspective collided with the propeller. That means the media, which is supposed to give you an objective perspective on events, simply parrots what the military want them to say. Now, you know that the military and the military-industrial complex operate in close conjunction. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, who are the best in men's below the waist and below the snout and within the ear grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools like our analysis for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. You get the lawnmower. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and some say the greatest ball trimmer ever. You get the Weed Whacker crop preserver ball deodorant, although if there is an odour, I mean, there just shouldn't be an odour on your balls. But if there is, this will rid you of it. The Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. In this case, the goodies are the products, not your reproductive organs. Join over 7 million men worldwide, not literally, that would be unhygienic, you'd be ankle deep in pubic hair, who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BRAND at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code BRAND. Oh, it's really actually quite satisfying because you can hear it. Can you hear that? That's the sound of youth returning. Sooner or later, you're going to hear stuff like, oh no, we need more money to fight this war. The Pentagon aren't getting enough money. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, they need more of your taxpayer dollars to continue this war. It's an escalating war. They in general want you to be fearful, anxious the whole time. There is an agenda at play here. You can see it in the choice of words. You can see it in the consistency of language. You can feel it in the tone. Let me know if you agree in the chat and the comments.
The big question, was this simply a reckless interception that got out of control, or was the collision done on purpose?
Was that done on purpose? You said that was an accident when you stood on my foot, but I reckon it was done on purpose. Make up, never break up. If you do, ignore the treaty between Reagan and Gorbachev and escalate tension, infringement on a territory from 2014 coup, selling weapons over to you. If you do, you'll get the flu at 2:30 and have World War III.
It's clear that it was unsafe, unprofessional.
This war is unprofessional. Please, gentlemen, we can't have fighting in the war room. It's literally beyond parody.
And I think the actions speak for themselves.
No, they don't. The actions don't speak for themselves. Here is the actions sort of speaking for themselves, although it is actually me doing it. A drone went a bit too near Russia. A fighter jet went near that drone. The drone came down. That's about it. Everything else is conjecture.
The Pentagon announcing just hours ago that a Russian jet harassed.
New news outlet, same language.
And then collided with a U.S. Reaper drone. Now, several times before the collision happens, the Russian jets dumped fuel on.
Dumped fuel. Again, consistency of language.
Flew in front of the drone in a reckless.
Reckless. Again, new channel, same story.
And environmentally unsound.
This is great propaganda. Great propaganda. But could we say somehow that it's also environmentally unsound? God, is that really the priority on the brink of World War III? No, but it makes it sound worse and it's on message. Okay, I'll just say it then. Environmentally unsound?
An environmentally unsound and unprofessional manner.
Unprofessional.
Now, General McCaffrey, it's a little bit...
You might take one glance at General McCaffrey and immediately conclude this man has known true evil. You'd be free to think that in your own mind, but it would be helpful, wouldn't it, if there was some evidence? Why is General McCaffrey on the news? What are his connections? What's he done in the past? None of this is being asked, of course, by MSNBC, because I would argue, and indeed have, that they are irresponsible and parrot the agenda of the establishment. So let's watch General McCaffrey, then we'll learn a little bit more about him in a moment.
like the opening scenes in Top Gun, the first one.
How dare you suggest that the mainstream media presents information to us like we're children? This is a bit like Top Gun. Goose, Maverick, the guys, poor Val Kilmer in that scarf in the second one, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose so.
With the roles reversed here.
Reverse Top Gun. So, Nugpot. Is that a film? Nugpot?
They were obviously brazen, if you're to believe U.S. defense and intelligence officials, which we do.
Oh, we do we? Well, we don't!
Well, there's no question that this was a deliberate provocation. I find it highly unlikely it was just a lack of discipline on the part of selected Russian fighter aircraft.
Okay, General McCaffrey, you might have noticed there he is hanging out with Bill Clinton in the background. Let's see what he's been up to in his career. Probably a thoroughly decent sort of chap. An investigative report for The New Yorker by veteran Seymour Hersh, friend of the show, Pulitzer Prize-winning conspiracy theorist, alleges that Barry McCaffrey orchestrated a 1991 massacre of hundreds of Iraqi troops 2 days after a ceasefire went into effect at the end of a Gulf War. In a ceasefire, are you supposed to cease firing?
Yeah, there's some doubt about the interpretation of those words. Them ceasefire troops was harassing the air nearby me.
Yeah, but war, do you know what I mean? The war, the fog of war, there's losses on both sides. American forces suffered no casualties in the attack, and the soldiers called it a turkey shoot, given that, as Hersh reports, few of the retreating Iraqis returned the fire, and some were even sunbathing on their tanks.
Look at those bastards. What are they doing? Worshipping the sun with their tits in their bellies? Get 'em, boys! And now for some unbiased reporting on MSNBC News. That jet was harassing that drone.
If that jet was harassing that drone, what were you doing to them Iraqis? Hersh's story also alleges that in 2 incidents, McCaffrey's division fired on unarmed Iraqis. Now, of course, I'm not claiming to understand the complexity of war and the kind of military expertise that McCaffrey might have. He's probably a person with incredible military genius. But I am saying, don't get him on MSNBC to talk about the egregious behaviour of a Russian jet when he's participated in a war that many people still regard as illegal. Whilst we're on the topic of carefully selected pundits brought on to de-escalate tension and bring about peace, let's have a look at warmongering hawk madman Lindsey Graham suggesting the only way out of this is to sort of smash everything in the world to bits, like Reagan would have done.
If he could remember to.
They shot down our drone. What should our answer be?
Well, we should hold them accountable and say that if you ever get near another U.S. set flying in international waters, your airplane would be shot down. What would Ronald Reagan do right now?
Well, let's not forget that what Ronald Reagan actually did was negotiated with Gorbachev to end the Cold War, a deal that meant that NATO were not to impede on former Soviet territory by even 1 inch. How's that been going lately?
He would start shooting Russian planes down if they were threatening our assets.
He'd do it himself with that chimp sidekick. Woohoo!
We're in a dangerous situation. Weakness breeds provocation.
It's like the old phrase, weakness breeds provocation. That means doing nothing or advocating for peace, according to Lindsey Graham, is somehow inciting provocation. Who are these pundits? Why are they brought on? I know Lindsey Graham is not a pundit, he's a politician, terrifyingly. But what I'm saying is look at the perspective the mainstream media are giving us on this conflict. Whether it's the right or the left, they are escalating the tensions. Now, in this particular conflict, it seems there are more voices on the right that are calling for de-escalation. But when it comes to the China conflict, is it the same? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Let's have a look at punditry, its objectivity, and the connections between these pundits and the military-industrial complex. Hopefully, there is none, because otherwise, that wouldn't be punditry. That would be advertising. Many of the retired military leaders employed by the networks as paid contributors have secondary affiliations that are rarely, if ever, mentioned, leaving viewers in the dark about whose interests they're promoting. None of the leading networks, including MSNBC, makes a regular practice of announcing its military analysts analyst's financial ties to the Pentagon, connections that could colour their on-air comments. They do colour their on-air comments. During its Ukraine coverage, MSNBC even failed to include disclosures when the network invited on former Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson, who serves on the board of directors at Lockheed Martin, the world's biggest defense contractor.
Okay, this is a great board meeting here at Lockheed Martin. Yes, you're right. We gotta sell more weapons. Let me put that right out of my mind now and go over to MSNBC.
Now, what should we do about this potential war?
Don't say sell more weapons. Don't say sell more weapons. It'll look like you're saying that because of your connections to Lockheed Martin.
I don't know. Should we maybe protect Ukrainian people by using more aid? What type of aid?
Weapons.
They spy balloon over the United States, shooting down an American drone, multi-million-dollar drone.
Tying together all these rather routine incidents, balloons, weather balloons, drones, all this stuff that goes on all the time, at the moment it's convenient to use it to escalate tension. Why? At least it's not suddenly just mentioning Mexico for no reason at all.
They know they can get away with it. Mexico is blaming us for the fentanyl crisis.
Oh, that's weird.
And Joe Biden is like a deer in the headlights.
Deer in headlights are actually quite alert, so I disagree with him there as well. So what could be behind all this? A Sweden-based research institute published a report Monday showing that the United States accounted for 40% of the world's weapons exports in the years 2018 to 22, selling armaments to more than 100 countries while increasing its dominance of the global arms trade. That means that they sell nearly the majority of all weapons, and that likely there are wars and conflicts where weapons from both sides have been sold to them by the military-industrial complex. It's almost baked into the American economy, or the global economy, I suppose, because it's not helping you as an American unless you work at one of those places, that there has to be ongoing conflict. Like Assange said, the purpose of the Afghanistan war was not to win it, but to sustain it, because he says that the function, as I've told you many times, because I remembered it and it seemed accurate to me, the function of the American government is to extract your money from you, the public, and give it to private companies. Just keep looking out for pandemics and wars and situations that create that type of dynamic. Soon after the Ukraine war broke out last year, Congress voted to appropriate $40 billion in aid to Ukraine. Every single Democrat voted for it. Now, Republican leadership in Congress has blasted President Biden's massive $886 billion military budget request for 2024 as inadequate. Bloody hell. How much war do you need? So that's Democrats and Republicans, both sides calling for more money for more war. Not saying, should we look for peaceful solutions? Should we distribute that money among American people? Create a better America for the people that live there? No. Escalate tensions. Give more of it to the military-industrial complex. Let me know if that's what you would vote for in a democracy if you had one, because you don't. Adding in likely emergency military aid packages for Ukraine later this year, plus the potential tens of billions of dollars in congressional add-ons, could push total spending for national defense to as much as $950 billion or more for the fiscal year 2024. You can't really call it the defense industry at this point. Defense suggests that there's a bunch of stuff happening and the nation is protecting itself from it. But so far, all there's been is a balloon and a remote-controlled plane has fallen into the sea covered in jet poo. The result could be the highest military budget since World War II, far higher than at the peaks of the Korean or Vietnam Wars or the height of the Cold War. Could there be a connection between this kind of media reporting and these kind of numbers? Let me know. If past experience is any guide, no, forget past experience. Why would we use that when making decisions? Why don't you just forget about the last couple of years? Forget everything. Just watch your telly. Why don't you vote for the side that's not currently in power? Maybe that'll help. More than half of the new Pentagon budget will go to contractors, with the biggest share going to the top 5, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, General Dynamics and Northrop Grumman, to build everything from howitzers and tanks to intercontinental ballistic missiles. There is more than money at stake, an open-ended strategy that seeks to develop capabilities to win a war with Russia or China, fight regional wars against Iran or North Korea, and sustain a global war on terror that includes operations in at least 85 countries, is a recipe for endless conflict. If you have a recipe for endless conflict, if you have an economic necessity for endless conflict, if you have no political party advocating for peaceful solutions, if you have politicians from all over the world, including our country, Britain, where I'm from, brokering anti-peace deals, then you are going to have perpetual conflict, not predicated on peace and protection for America or Western democracy or whatever term you want to use, oh, the barbarians are at the gate, but simply to keep an industry alive, to keep an industry flourishing, and I believe even more significantly, to facilitate the transfer of your tax dollars into the hands of privately owned companies. Free market capitalism is one thing. Banking crises are something else. Pandemics where trillions are transferred to the wealthiest people in the world. But ongoing war, the death of children, the fetishization of the damage of a drone and the neglect of Ukrainian kids dying while claiming that that's what it's all about. Unconsciously, what's being revealed is what they really care about. When they talk about that drone in order to escalate tensions, they reveal that what this is really about is money and industry, and that peace is not on the agenda because peace is bad for business. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the chat in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Remember, my stand-up special is available now, Brandemic, where I talk about the pandemic in ways that could not be broadcast on mainstream media. That's why it's only available to you. Get over there to Rumble and buy it now. In the meantime, stay free.
All right. The beginning bit of the pandemic, it was like really nice. It was about a month where it was like a free holiday, and I thought this is going to be beautiful. That spirit didn't last that long, did it? You won't get addicted to that. You take it in a jungle. I'm not going to not get addicted to something just because there's a toucan nearby. You should not let your children look at screens. Now I've got them, I'm like, oh, stick Netflix on and give it a Rolo, will ya?
That clip was from my new special, Brandemic, only available on Locals. You can buy the special for $20 or you can become a member of our community to get both the special and all my Locals content for 1 whole year.